Would you leave a perfect job for a dream everyone thinks is crazy? Hello and welcome. I'm very happy you are here today. This video is made for people who want to learn English. It is easy to follow and good for practice. Jeff Bezos was just a young man with a good job in New York City. One day, he had an idea to sell books on the internet. Everyone thought it was crazy. Even his boss said, "It's a great idea, but maybe for someone who doesn't already have a good job." But Bezos couldn't stop thinking about it. This is the story of how one choice changed everything. As you listen, follow the words on the screen. You can hear the right pronunciation and see how sentences are made. Chapter 1. The choice between safe and brave. Jeff Bezos had everything most people dream of: a good job, a strong career, and a safe future ahead of him. Every morning, he walked to work surrounded by tall buildings and smart people who were just like him. Yet deep inside, there was a quiet voice whispering that something was missing. It wasn't about money or success. It was about purpose. He often looked out of his office window, watching the busy city below, and wondered if this was really all life had to offer. He loved his work, but it felt like he was following a map that someone else had drawn. That thought made him uneasy because he knew he wanted to create something of his own, something that truly mattered to him. At night, he would read about the growing world of the internet. Back in the 1990s, it was still new, uncertain, and a little wild. But Jeff could see its potential, a hidden door opening into the future. While others saw risk, he saw possibility, a world that could connect everyone through ideas and commerce. Still, the fear of losing everything he had worked for was real. He had a comfortable life and a promising path ahead, and walking away from that felt like stepping into darkness. But he couldn't stop imagining what would happen if he didn't at least try. The thought of regret scared him more than the thought of failure. One evening, he shared his idea with his boss to sell books on the internet. His boss listened carefully, smiled, and said, "That's a really good idea, Jeff. But maybe it's better for someone who doesn't already have a great job." Those words stayed in Jeff's mind, repeating again and again. A good idea, but not for me. Was that true? He realized that safe choices build comfort, but brave choices build stories. He didn't want to reach old age wondering what could have been. He wanted to be able to look back and say, "I tried." That small spark of courage grew stronger every day until it became something he could no longer ignore. The dream was calling him. So he started writing down his plan. He made lists, calculations, and timelines, but every number came second to one big question: will I regret it if I don't try? The answer was always yes. That answer became his motivation, a quiet force pushing him toward the unknown. When he told friends and family about his idea, most people smiled politely. Some thought he was joking. The internet was too small, they said. People loved visiting real bookstores. Why risk everything for something uncertain? But Jeff had already seen the future in his mind, and it was clear to him like a sunrise. He didn't want a life that looked good from the outside, but felt empty on the inside. He wanted a life full of learning, mistakes, and growth. He knew that courage wasn't about not feeling afraid. It was about moving forward even while afraid. That understanding gave him strength. The day he decided to quit his job, he felt both fear and freedom. It was as if he was jumping from a cliff, trusting that the ground would appear beneath his feet. He packed his things, said goodbye to his colleagues, and walked out of the office with a heart full of uncertainty and excitement. The next chapter of his life had begun. At home, he shared his decision with his wife, Mackenzie. She supported him completely. "Go build it," she said. Those simple words meant everything. With her encouragement, the dream felt real for the first time. It was no longer an idea. It was a mission. He set up a small desk in his garage and called his company Amazon. There were no fancy offices, no investors, and no promises of success. Only boxes of books, a few computers, and one man's belief that this could work. Every order that came in felt like a small victory, proof that courage had meaning. The early days were tough. There were times when the website crashed, orders were delayed, and doubts crept in. But each problem was a lesson. Jeff learned that progress comes not from perfection, but from persistence. Every failure taught him how to make the next step smoother. Sometimes, late at night, he would sit alone in his garage, surrounded by boxes, and think about his old office, the comfort, the safety, the easy path he had left behind. But then, he'd look at the small stack of books waiting to be shipped and feel a quiet pride. He was building something from nothing, and that felt more alive than anything else. As weeks turned into months, Amazon began to grow. Slowly, people started to believe. The same friends who doubted him now asked how they could help. The same world that laughed at his dream began to notice his courage. It wasn't luck. It was faith in a choice. Jeff often said, "You can have a job, a career, or a calling." That phrase became his truth. A job is what you do for money. A career is what you do for success. But a calling is what you do for meaning. Once he found his calling, there was no turning back. Every day was hard, but it was the kind of hard that made him feel alive. There were mornings when he woke up tired, uncertain, and even scared. But he kept going, one decision at a time. He realized that success is not about being fearless. It's about being faithful to your vision. Each small win added to the story he was writing with his life. He once said, "If you decide you'll never be misunderstood, then don't do anything new." That wisdom guided him whenever people doubted his path. He accepted criticism as part of the journey, not as a stop sign. He learned to listen to others, but to trust himself even more. The line between brave and foolish often felt thin, but he learned that true bravery means choosing possibility over predictability. It means doing what feels right even when no one claps for you. It means believing before others can see. That's the kind of bravery that changes lives. Jeff knew he might fail, but he also knew that failure teaches faster than fear. Each challenge sharpened his skills and deepened his purpose. He was not just building a company, he was building his character, and that growth was priceless. Over time, Amazon became more than an online bookstore. It became a symbol of what one person can do when they follow a dream with full heart. But that success didn't begin with millions of dollars. It began with a single choice: to leave the safe path and walk the brave one. When people asked how he did it, he always came back to the same idea. Make decisions you won't regret. Don't let fear write your story. If something excites and scares you at the same time, that's a sign it's worth doing. He wanted people to understand that courage isn't rare, it's simply practiced. That's why his story continues to inspire millions. Because deep down, everyone faces the same choice. The choice between staying safe or stepping brave. We all know that small voice inside, the one that whispers, "What if?" The difference is whether we listen. And Jeff listened. He listened carefully, courageously, and completely. That choice became his path to greatness. It wasn't about luck, genius, or money. It was about following a dream, even when it looked impossible. That's what made him rich, not just in money, but in life. Every great story begins with a brave moment. For Jeff Bezos, that moment started with a question: will I regret not trying? His answer created Amazon, inspired the world, and proved that the bravest step is always the first one. Chapter 2. The Dream. No one believed. When Jeff Bezos started sharing his idea, people smiled and shook their heads. To them, the internet was just a strange toy for a few computer people, not a place to build a business. Selling books online sounded impossible, even funny. They thought he was wasting his time on a dream that would never work. His friends tried to protect him from failure. They said, "Jeff, you already have a great job. Why risk it?" They didn't mean to hurt him. They just couldn't see what he saw. To them, safety looked like success. But to Jeff, comfort felt like a slow kind of failure, the kind that steals your spirit one quiet day at a time. Investors listened politely to his pitch, but quickly lost interest. Some even laughed out loud. "No one will buy things on the internet," they said with confidence. They were sure that people wanted to touch books before they bought them. They didn't believe that screens and clicks could ever replace shelves and paper. Jeff didn't argue or get angry. He just smiled, thanked them, and went back to work. Inside, he carried a fire that no one else could see. He didn't need everyone to believe. He just needed to believe enough for himself. His dream was still small, but his faith was growing stronger every day. Every night, he stayed up late, working on the website's design. He learned coding, studied book catalogs, and built systems by hand. The garage was hot in summer, cold in winter, and always full of boxes. But he didn't care. To him, that small space felt like the center of the universe, a place where ideas became real. There were no cheering crowds or bright lights, just the quiet sound of clicking keys and hope. When his first online order came in, he jumped with excitement. Someone out there, a stranger, believed enough to buy a book. It was proof that he wasn't completely alone in this dream. But soon after that small victory, more challenges came. Websites crashed, shipments delayed, and people complained. Every failure was a test of patience and faith. Jeff reminded himself that big dreams always start messy. He believed that every problem solved today would become strength tomorrow. Sometimes the pressure felt too heavy. Bills were stacking, investors were silent, and the world still laughed. But every morning he reminded himself why he started. This is not about books, he thought. It's about building a better way for people to shop, learn, and connect. That belief kept him moving forward. He had a vision, not of selling books, but of creating a new kind of marketplace, one that was open 24 hours, for everyone, everywhere. People didn't understand that yet, but Jeff didn't need them to. Visionaries don't wait for permission. They move before others see the road. His wife Mackenzie stood by his side every step. She helped pack boxes, manage orders, and encourage him when he felt lost. Her belief gave him strength when his own began to fade. Together, they worked through long nights, powered by little more than coffee and faith. One day, he received a rejection letter from another potential investor. It read, "The internet is a fad." Jeff smiled and pinned it on the wall. He wanted to remember that letter, not as an insult, but as motivation. Every no was a brick he used to build his future. He believed that someday the world would understand. Maybe not now, maybe not soon, but someday. The laughter of others didn't hurt him anymore. It became background noise. When you're chasing something great, you learn to turn noise into music that keeps you walking forward. Each time someone doubted him, he grew more focused. Doubt became fuel, pushing him to work harder, learn faster, and stay humble. He realized that believing alone is a superpower. It separates dreamers from doubters, and he chose to be the dreamer who never gave up. There were moments of loneliness, too. Days when he sat in his garage, surrounded by books and silence, wondering if the world would ever notice. But then he remembered. Every big idea starts alone. History always begins with one person who dares to see what others can't. He often thought about Thomas Edison, the Wright brothers, and other inventors who were once called crazy. Now, their names were written in history. He knew he might never reach that level, but he wanted to try anyway. That small wish, to try, became his greatest strength. Months passed, and Amazon began to grow slowly. One customer became 10, 10 became hundreds. Each sale was a small vote of belief. People were beginning to trust the internet, one book at a time. And behind every order, Jeff saw not money, but momentum. He started receiving messages from happy customers around the country. They thanked him for making it easy to find books they couldn't get in stores. Those messages reminded him why he began, to make life a little better for others. That purpose mattered more than profit. Still, the world outside kept doubting. News articles called him the man selling books from a garage. Some said Amazon would collapse any day, but Jeff stayed calm. He understood something powerful. Being underestimated is an advantage. When no one expects much, you're free to surprise everyone. He trained his small team to think big, to move fast, and to believe deeply. He told them, "It's always day one." That meant staying hungry, curious, and humble, like they were just starting, even when success came later. It became the heartbeat of Amazon's culture. In time, a few investors finally began to see potential. They noticed the growth, the customer love, the vision behind it all. The same idea that once sounded crazy now sounded genius. But Jeff didn't celebrate too early. He knew that real belief must come from within, not from others' approval. Through every season of doubt, he kept learning. He learned that faith is not blind, it's focused. It's not about ignoring fear, it's about walking through it with open eyes. He learned that real confidence is built, not born. Every mistake became a lesson, every lesson a step forward. Sometimes he remembered those early days and smiled. The laughter, the rejection, the endless nights, they all became part of his foundation. Without them, he would never have learned how to stand tall. The dream no one believed in had become a reality no one could ignore. Jeff often said later, "The best ideas sound crazy until they work." He knew this from experience. The same dream that once made people laugh had now changed how the world buys, reads, and lives. But what made it powerful was not luck, it was belief. He learned that belief is contagious. When one person dares to believe, others begin to see what's possible. His courage gave permission for millions of others to dream big too. That was the true impact of Amazon. Not just business, but belief made visible. And so, Jeff's story became a reminder to everyone who ever heard, "That will never work." He proved that the greatest ideas often begin with laughter and end with applause. He proved that the future belongs to those who keep believing, even when they stand alone. Because every dream worth chasing will sound impossible at first. And when the world says no, the brave ones build anyway. Jeff Bezos did, and that's how his impossible dream became our everyday life. Chapter 3. The Power of Passion and Purpose. Jeff Bezos often said, "You can have a job, a career, or a calling." Those words carried deep truth that guided his life. He believed that a job is something you do to survive, a career is something you do to succeed, but a calling is something you do to serve. It is the kind of work that lights your heart on fire and gives meaning to every morning you wake up. When Jeff looked back at his early years, he realized that he had always been curious. As a boy, he built small inventions in his garage, even when they didn't work. He wasn't chasing money or fame, he was chasing the joy of creating. That same spirit followed him into adulthood and later became the foundation of everything he built. He learned that passion is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet feeling that grows slowly inside your heart. It's that small excitement you feel when you talk about your dreams. Passion doesn't shout, it whispers, and only the brave take time to listen. Jeff listened carefully, and it changed the course of his life. In the early days of Amazon, there was nothing glamorous about his work. The garage was dusty, the shelves were crowded, and every day brought new challenges. But Jeff didn't see problems. He saw purpose. He was not just selling books. He was changing the way people connected with knowledge and ideas. Many people around him couldn't understand why he worked so hard for something so uncertain. They thought success meant comfort, not struggle. But Jeff knew the truth. Passion is born in discomfort. When you love what you do, even the hardest days feel worth it. That's what separates those who quit from those who build. He often told his team, "Work hard, have fun, make history." It wasn't just a slogan, it was a mindset. He wanted every employee to feel that their work mattered, that they were part of something bigger than themselves. He believed that shared purpose creates unstoppable energy. Passion, to Jeff, was not about emotion alone. It was about commitment, the choice to keep going when the excitement fades. Real passion survives boredom, failure, and fatigue. It becomes discipline, and that discipline transforms dreams into reality. He lived by that principle every single day. There were days when everything seemed to go wrong. Orders piled up, systems crashed, and the future looked uncertain. But instead of complaining, Jeff reminded his team why they started. "We're not here to build a bookstore," he said. "We're here to build the future of how people shop and learn." That reminder reignited their purpose. He knew that people don't just buy products, they buy trust, convenience, and experience. Every click, every package, every smile from a customer mattered. That attention to detail came from passion, not from pressure. It came from caring deeply about the experience of others. Jeff's passion was not just for business, but for innovation. He loved solving problems that others ignored. When someone said, "It can't be done," he felt more motivated to prove them wrong. Passion gives people energy to keep pushing when logic says stop. It turns dreamers into doers. Over time, his passion attracted people who shared his vision. Engineers, designers, and thinkers joined him. Not for the salary, but for the mission. They believed in building something meaningful, and together they formed a culture that valued curiosity, courage, and creativity above everything else. He often reminded his employees that purpose is the secret fuel of persistence. When you know why you're doing something, you can survive almost anyhow. He wanted everyone at Amazon to understand that they weren't just building a website, they were building a movement that would outlive them. As Amazon grew, so did the pressure. Competitors appeared, investors demanded results, and expectations soared. But Jeff stayed calm. He returned again and again to the same guiding star: purpose. "We are customer-obsessed," he would say. "We exist to make people's lives better." That focus became the heartbeat of Amazon. Passion gave Jeff the courage to dream big, but purpose gave him the discipline to keep going. Passion starts the fire, but purpose keeps it burning. Without purpose, even great passion fades into exhaustion. With purpose, even small steps lead to great journeys. He understood that balance perfectly. There were moments when he faced heavy criticism. People said he worked his employees too hard or took too many risks. But Jeff saw those risks as necessary sacrifices for a vision worth fighting for. "You can't build something extraordinary by staying ordinary," he once said. His purpose demanded more from him than comfort could ever offer. He found joy in small victories: faster shipping times, happier customers, new ideas that worked. Each success, no matter how small, was a reminder that purpose pays off. It's not always about reaching the top. It's about knowing why you started the climb in the first place. That awareness gave him peace. Passion and purpose also shaped how he saw failure. To Jeff, failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was part of it. Every mistake taught him what not to do next time. He told his team, "If you're not failing, you're not innovating enough." That mindset made Amazon fearless. Over the years, Jeff learned that purpose grows stronger when it serves others. True fulfillment doesn't come from personal gain, but from impact. He wanted to build a company that empowered people: writers, readers, entrepreneurs, dreamers. Each of them was part of the story Amazon was writing. His definition of success changed as he grew. At first, it was about building something great. Later, it became about helping others build too. He wanted Amazon to be a tool for creativity, a place where people could turn ideas into income, passion into possibility. That's how purpose evolves, from self to service. When challenges came, Jeff leaned on his purpose to stay grounded. It reminded him that even when things looked impossible, the work mattered. That sense of meaning kept his energy alive. He believed that if your why is strong enough, the how will always find a way. Every morning he woke up curious. What could be improved today? What could make the customer smile more? That curiosity was passion in motion. He didn't chase perfection, he chased progress. Purpose, he realized, is not a destination. It's a daily decision to keep improving. He inspired others not by words, but by example. His long hours, his attention to detail, his willingness to learn from mistakes, all came from love for the mission. He once said, "I'm not competing with others. I'm competing with myself to do better." That attitude defined his leadership. The people who worked with him often said that Jeff made them believe their work mattered. That is the power of purpose. It transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. When people feel connected to something bigger, they give their best without being asked. Jeff's story proves that passion without purpose burns out, but purpose without passion becomes empty. The two must walk together. Passion gives color to life, purpose gives it direction. When they unite, they create unstoppable force, the kind that builds empires and changes the world. In the end, Jeff didn't just build Amazon, he built a legacy of belief. He showed that when you find your calling, work stops feeling like work. It becomes a journey of discovery, service, and joy. That's what he meant by having a calling, a life that feels fully alive. His purpose was never just to sell, it was to serve. And through that purpose, he discovered the deepest truth of success. It's not about how much you earn, but how much you create for others. Passion started his journey, but purpose gave it meaning. Together, they made him unstoppable. Chapter 4. Hard Work Over Gifts. Jeff Bezos often said, "Don't be proud of your gifts. Be proud of your choices." Those words became a foundation for how he lived and led. He believed that gifts, like talent, intelligence, or luck, are given freely by life. We don't earn them, we simply receive them. But choices, those are earned. They require discipline, courage, and action. It is what we decide to do with what we have that truly defines who we are. He understood early that natural talent means little without effort. Many people are born smart or skilled, but not everyone chooses to use those gifts fully. Jeff chose to work harder than his comfort allowed. While others rested, he studied markets, customer behavior, and new technologies. He turned curiosity into commitment and dreams into daily work. In the early days of Amazon, nothing came easily. There were no shortcuts, no magic formulas. He packed boxes with his own hands, drove them to the post office, and sometimes slept at the office to save time. He made countless mistakes, but instead of feeling ashamed, he treated every mistake as a lesson. "Failure is part of invention," he once said. "It's the price you pay for progress." Jeff knew that gifts can fade, but hard work builds endurance. Natural intelligence may open a door, but persistence keeps it open. Many people quit when things get hard, thinking they've reached their limit. Jeff went beyond that point. He believed limits are only real when you accept them. So he pushed past fear, frustration, and fatigue. That was his real gift, the will to continue. He built Amazon not as a genius with a secret plan, but as a relentless worker with a powerful mindset. Every night, when the lights dimmed and silence filled the room, he stayed to improve one more detail. He didn't just imagine success, he earned it through thousands of small, unseen efforts. The kind of work that no one celebrates but everyone benefits from later. To Jeff, the value of work was not in the result, but in the process. He loved the grind, the messy, uncertain, uncomfortable part of building something new. He knew that growth comes from repetition and reflection. Every package he shipped, every line of code his team wrote, every problem solved, all of it was practice for greatness. He often told his team, "We are willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time." That meant they were okay with people not understanding their work, as long as they stayed true to their mission. It takes humility to keep working when no one notices. It takes strength to stay focused when success feels far away. That humility was his armor, and that strength was his engine. Jeff believed that the world rewards consistent effort, not quick wins. Many dreamers fail because they expect instant results. But lasting success comes slowly, like building a bridge stone by stone. He didn't rush. He built with patience and precision. Slow, steady, and deliberate. That was his strategy. When others praised him for being brilliant, he smiled politely, but didn't agree. He knew brilliance without action means nothing. Ideas are easy, he said. Execution is everything. It was his way of reminding himself and others that talk doesn't build empires. Sweat does. Every successful person in his eyes was just someone who kept working after others stopped. There were countless nights when exhaustion made him doubt himself. He missed family events, skipped vacations, and faced enormous pressure from investors. But he never saw it as suffering. He saw it as sacrifice, a fair exchange for the privilege of pursuing a dream. Hard work wasn't his burden, it was his choice. Jeff's story teaches that gifts can make you comfortable, but effort makes you capable. The world is full of talented people who never follow through, and fewer persistent ones who change the world. He chose to be among the few. Every choice to show up, every decision to keep going. That's what separated him from the rest. He taught his employees to embrace the same mindset. At Amazon, performance wasn't about how smart you were, but how committed you were to learning. Mistakes were not punished, they were studied. Progress was celebrated more than perfection. This culture turned ordinary people into extraordinary innovators. Over time, Jeff learned that success is less about having advantages and more about making decisions that move you forward. Even when resources were scarce, he made bold choices. He took risks others avoided. That courage, combined with relentless effort, became the true driver of Amazon's growth. He also believed that work should be meaningful. Working hard for something you don't care about is stress, but working hard for something you love is passion. His passion for innovation turned his effort into energy. It made long hours feel like an adventure, not an obligation. When passion fuels work, effort feels lighter. When Amazon finally became successful, Jeff didn't relax. He knew that success can make people lazy. He stayed hungry, curious, and humble. "It's always day one," he reminded his employees, meaning they should always act like beginners, eager to learn, eager to improve. This mindset protected Amazon from becoming slow and satisfied. Even as one of the richest men on earth, Jeff never claimed it was because of luck or talent alone. He credited his success to the thousands of choices he made to work harder, learn faster, and care deeper. "Hard work," he said, "compounds like interest. It grows stronger the longer you keep investing in it." He was fascinated by how small habits shape great destinies. Waking up early, reading constantly, asking questions, these simple routines built mental muscle over time. He didn't seek perfection, he sought improvement, and that made him unstoppable. Jeff believed that every human being has two voices inside, one that wants comfort and one that wants growth. The comfort voice says, "Rest, it's enough." The growth voice whispers, "You can do more." He chose to listen to the second voice every time. That single choice, repeated daily, created his success story. His view of intelligence was practical. "You don't have to be the smartest person in the room," he said. "You just have to be the most prepared." Preparation is a form of respect for yourself, your work, and your vision. That belief pushed him to stay ready for opportunities long before they appeared. He often admired people who worked quietly, not for fame, but for mastery. True greatness, he believed, is silent at first. It grows in the dark, in hours of practice, patience, and persistence. Only later does the world see the light it produces. His story was proof of that. There's a kind of satisfaction that money can't buy, the pride of knowing you've earned everything through effort. Jeff felt that pride deeply. It gave him confidence that no setback could take away. Even if he lost everything, he knew he could rebuild it, because he had built himself through hard work. He wanted the world to understand that the real reward of effort is not success, but strength. Every hour of work shapes your character. Every challenge makes you wiser. That, to him, was worth more than wealth. Be proud of your choices, he repeated, because they're the one thing no one can give you. Jeff's journey shows that persistence beats privilege. Those who work consistently, learn constantly, and stay humble ultimately rise higher than those who rely only on gifts. Talent may start the race, but endurance finishes it. He chose endurance every time. His life became a living lesson that genius is overrated and grit is underrated. You don't need to be extraordinary to achieve extraordinary results. You just need to show up, stay curious, and never give up. That is the real secret behind Amazon and behind Jeff himself. In the end, Jeff's success wasn't about luck or intelligence. It was about commitment. He proved that hard work is the most reliable form of talent. It never runs out, it never gets old, and it belongs to anyone willing to earn it. That's the truth he lived by, and the truth that made him who he is today. Chapter 5. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Jeff Bezos lived by a phrase borrowed from the military. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. It sounds simple, but behind those words lies a powerful truth about success. Rushing creates mistakes, but calm, steady action builds mastery. Jeff didn't chase speed for its own sake. He focused on precision, patience, and process. Because when your movements are smooth, speed comes naturally. In the early days of Amazon, everyone wanted to grow faster. Investors demanded quick results. Competitors were moving rapidly. But Jeff refused to rush. He said, "If we hurry blindly, we'll break what matters most, our trust with customers." So instead of sprinting, he built systems. He took time to test, learn, and refine. That patience became Amazon's superpower. He understood that fast growth without foundation collapses easily. So, he built Amazon like an architect builds a bridge, carefully, step by step, testing every beam before adding the next. It looked slow to outsiders, but Jeff knew that real progress is quiet at first. It happens in planning rooms, not on headlines. Each decision he made followed a rhythm. Observe, plan, execute, reflect, and adjust. That rhythm kept chaos away even when things got hard. Many entrepreneurs try to move quickly and end up fixing the same problems twice. Jeff's slow approach avoided waste. He believed that smoothness, clarity, focus, and structure leads to faster, long-term success. He often told his team that patience was not weakness, it was wisdom. Rushing through steps is easy. Understanding each step deeply is hard. He taught them to love the process, not just the outcome, because once the process becomes smooth, the results come naturally. "We don't need to be the first," he said. "We just need to be the best." Jeff compared business to flying a rocket. "You can't speed up takeoff by ignoring the checklist," he joked. "If you skip one step, the rocket explodes." That's why he obsessed over details. Every system, every product, every idea went through testing. His slowness wasn't hesitation. It was preparation. He believed time spent learning saves time repairing. Mistakes made in a rush often take longer to fix than they would have taken to avoid. Jeff's patience wasn't about waiting, it was about thinking before acting. He wanted Amazon to move deliberately, with purpose in every decision. When critics said Amazon was too slow to make profits, Jeff smiled. "We're not focused on the quarter," he said. "We're focused on the decade." He looked far ahead beyond short-term success. That long-term vision required discipline. The discipline to move slower than everyone else until the time was right to accelerate. His calm approach gave his team confidence. When others panicked, Jeff stayed steady. His voice was even, his tone clear. "Breathe," he'd say. "Let's fix one thing at a time." He understood that leadership isn't about speed, it's about direction. Going fast in the wrong direction is worse than moving slow in the right one. Over time, people began to see how his method worked. Amazon didn't explode overnight. It expanded quietly, smoothly, year after year. Each improvement became the foundation for the next. Small steps, taken carefully, multiplied into massive progress. That's the power of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. He also applied this idea to personal growth. Jeff read constantly, asked thoughtful questions, and took time to think deeply. He knew that quick answers rarely lead to real understanding. Wisdom takes time, reflection, and silence. He valued slow thinking in a fast world. Whenever his team faced tough challenges, Jeff reminded them not to rush solutions. "Go slow to go fast," he said. "Smooth the edges before you accelerate." That mindset created fewer errors and stronger results. It taught everyone that control, not chaos, creates speed that lasts. He saw life like a marathon, not a sprint. Success wasn't about who started fastest, but who stayed consistent longest. Smoothness, clear systems, patient learning, and emotional balance helps you run farther without burning out. That was Jeff's secret weapon against fatigue and failure. He once explained that slowness allows space for creativity. When you're not rushing, your mind opens. You notice patterns, new ideas, and better paths forward. That's how Amazon kept innovating, by taking time to think deeply about what customers truly needed. Even in high-pressure situations, Jeff never yelled or panicked. He'd pause, think, and speak slowly. His calmness spread through the room. People performed better under that steady energy. "If you want to go fast," he told them, "first, go smooth." Many people think speed comes from urgency, but Jeff knew it comes from clarity. When everyone knows their role, their goal, and their path, things move quickly. Confusion slows everything down, so he spent time explaining the why behind every task, making sure everyone moved together in rhythm. He used this principle when launching new ideas like Prime, Kindle, and AWS. Each started small and simple. The team learned, adjusted, and scaled gradually. Once the process became smooth, growth exploded. What looked slow in the beginning became unstoppable later. Jeff's patience didn't mean inaction, it meant focused action. While others chased trends, he stayed committed to the mission. That quiet consistency built trust with customers, employees, and investors. Trust, he believed, is earned slowly, but lost quickly. That's why he protected it carefully. He admired the discipline of soldiers, pilots, and engineers, people who understand that one wrong move can cost everything. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast wasn't about comfort, it was about control. Control of your mind, your team, your mission. Without it, speed becomes chaos. He encouraged everyone to celebrate small wins because they build momentum. "If you take one right step every day," he said, "you'll be shocked how far you've gone in a year." That steady rhythm created unstoppable progress. Amazon grew because it never stopped moving, not fast, but forward. Over the years, Jeff proved that patience scales better than panic. Companies that grow too fast often fall apart, but those that grow steadily stand strong. The smooth, patient builders always outlast the noisy sprinters. That's the truth history keeps repeating. He used to say, "We're not competing with others. We're competing with our own potential." That mindset turned patience into power. The slower they refined their systems, the faster they could innovate later. That's how Amazon went from garage to global, through careful, continuous improvement. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast became more than a quote. It became a philosophy of life. It reminded Jeff that success is not about doing everything quickly, but doing everything correctly. Excellence takes time. The best things in life are built, not rushed. When the world saw Amazon's success, they thought it happened overnight. But behind that overnight success were years of slow, steady progress. Each small action built momentum until the company moved with unstoppable speed. That's how smoothness becomes power. Jeff's lesson to the world is simple. Slow down, think deeply, act deliberately. The smoother your process, the faster your success. True speed isn't frantic, it's focused. That is how small actions become a global movement. That is how Amazon was born, not in a rush, but in rhythm. Chapter 6. The question for all of us. Every person faces a moment when life quietly asks a question. Who will you be? It doesn't shout or demand attention. It whispers, softly but clearly, in the moments between choices. Jeff Bezos faced that question early, and so must we all. It is not about what we have been given, but about what we choose to do with what we have. We live in a world that rewards comfort. Everything is designed to be faster, easier, and safer. But comfort, Jeff learned, can become a trap. It keeps us from growing, from exploring, from daring to dream bigger. He once said, "If you choose a life of ease, you'll miss the adventure of becoming more." Those words remind us that comfort and courage rarely live together. Courage is uncomfortable. It means walking into uncertainty, risking failure, and choosing to care deeply about something that might not work. But that's where meaning lives. Every great story, from inventors to explorers, begins with someone saying, "I'll try, even if I fail." Jeff made that choice when he left his safe job. He chose courage over comfort, and that one decision changed everything. Each of us carries that same power inside. Every day, we decide how to live. Will we hide behind excuses or step toward possibilities? The question is not whether we can, but whether we will. Jeff believed the future belongs to the brave, not the lucky, not the gifted, but the ones who keep trying when things get hard. Following the crowd feels easy. It feels safe. But safety often leads to sameness. The people who change the world are rarely the ones who follow others. They are the ones who listen to the quiet voice inside that says, "Go your own way." Jeff followed that voice. It led him to create something new, something people once thought impossible. The heart knows where it wants to go long before the mind understands why. Jeff trusted his heart when logic said no. He believed that purpose doesn't need permission. If your dream feels right, that's reason enough to begin. The path might be lonely, but it's real. And real paths always lead somewhere worth going. Playing it safe protects us, but it also limits us. It keeps us from discovering our potential. Jeff could have stayed comfortable, admired, and secure, but he wanted to build something meaningful, something that mattered to others. He traded comfort for contribution, and in doing so, found his calling. Every decision we make tells the story of who we are. Small choices shape big destinies. Jeff knew that a single step, even a small one, can change everything if it's taken with purpose. He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He created it through action. Waiting rarely brings opportunity. Acting creates it. He once asked a simple but powerful question. When I'm 80 years old, will I regret not trying? That question guided him through doubt and fear. It became his internal compass. By imagining his future self, he made better decisions in the present. It's a lesson for all of us. Think from your future, not your fear. Regret is a quiet pain that grows from choices we never made. Jeff wanted to live a life with as few regrets as possible. He understood that failure hurts for a while, but regret hurts forever. That's why he preferred trying and failing over never trying at all. In the end, the only real failure is not showing up. Our talents are gifts, but they do not define us. What defines us are our choices, how we use our gifts, how we respond to challenges, how we treat others. Jeff believed character is built choice by choice, moment by moment. You don't become strong all at once. You build strength through every decision to keep going. He often reminded young people that greatness is not reserved for the lucky few. It belongs to anyone willing to act with courage. Don't wait for permission to start, he said. The world doesn't need more dreamers. It needs more doers. Action is the language of courage. The world around us constantly changes. Technology, trends, opinions, everything moves fast. But one thing never changes: our ability to choose. We can always decide to be kind, to be brave, to be curious. Those are the choices that shape the quality of our lives. Jeff's journey teaches us that purpose is not found. It's built. Each decision adds a brick. Each act of effort lays another. Over time, those small, deliberate choices build something strong, a life of meaning, a legacy of service, a story worth telling. When you choose courage, you give others permission to do the same. That's how leaders are born, not by title, but by example. Jeff's courage inspired millions of entrepreneurs to take their first step. His story reminds us that bravery spreads when shared. To follow your heart doesn't mean ignoring reason. It means aligning reason with what truly matters to you. Jeff's logic served his passion. It didn't silence it. He calculated risks, but he never let fear make his choices. Fear was information, not instruction. He listened, learned, and moved anyway. Choosing meaning over comfort often looks foolish at first. People will question, criticize, and doubt. But courage is quiet. It doesn't need applause. Jeff faced doubt from friends and investors, yet he stayed focused. He knew that belief doesn't require approval, only persistence. Our time on earth is short, but our choices echo long after we're gone. Jeff wanted his echo to be one of innovation, curiosity, and service. He didn't just want to make money. He wanted to make a difference. That's the power of choosing something meaningful. Each of us can start small. You don't need a garage or a billion-dollar idea. You only need one brave decision: to start, to try, to believe. Progress doesn't begin with a crowd. It begins with a choice. Your choice. That's how all revolutions start: quietly, personally, and powerfully. Jeff's philosophy reminds us that life is a mirror of our decisions. If we want a different reflection, we must make different choices. Comfort might feel safe, but courage feels alive. It's better to live boldly than to wonder forever what could have been. He once said, "You can't choose your gifts, but you can choose how you use them." That's where freedom lies, in the power to decide who we become. The future doesn't happen to us. We create it through the choices we make today. When we follow our hearts, we align our lives with meaning. That's where fulfillment grows. Success without meaning is empty, but even small achievements built on purpose feel rich. Jeff's story proves that happiness comes not from comfort, but from contribution. As you think about your own life, ask yourself the same questions. Will I choose comfort or courage? Will I follow the crowd or follow my heart? Will I play it safe or build something meaningful? The answers to these questions will shape your future far more than luck or talent ever will. Because in the end, we are not defined by what we have, but by what we do. Our choices tell the world who we are, what we value, and how we want to be remembered. Jeff Bezos made his choice to live with courage, not comfort. And now, it's our turn to answer that same question for ourselves. Jeff Bezos didn't just build Amazon, he built his story. And so can you. Every time you make a brave choice, you write a new chapter of your own success. This is Easy English Official, helping you learn English and life lessons that matter. Remember, small steps today can lead to big changes tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and keep learning and choosing courage every day.